let me go. Please let me go.
In the past 2 months, public records show that Shopify's CEO Tobias Lütke has purchased close to $3 million in Coinbase shares during the last 60 days. Coinbase Global Incorporated, Nasdaq, Coin, shares have seen better days as statistics show. During the past 12 months, Coin has lost 73.47% or a loss of 184 nominal US dollars in value. On Monday, October 3, 2022, Coin gained 2.11% during the past 24 hours.
Web3 bank heists to date. Certainly yesterday, Ronin, the native token system behind play-to-earn giant Axie Infinity, saw more than 173,000 Ether and $25 million pegged USDC stablecoins extracted from its system by an attacker. Those tokens were at the time worth more than $625 million. And as has now become somewhat standard, we've seen a pledge from the company behind Axie to cover the losses. We've seen the largest exchanges clamp down in an effort to prevent the attacker from cashing out. And those are just the highlights from the first 24 hours. I'm going to throw this to you first, Christy, but a couple of questions on my mind here are, how does someone actually escape with the loot in a situation like this? Should we be surprised at these things for the big players out there?
Wow, those are like 3 big essays one could write there, Adam.
Take it away, Christy.
Take it away. I actually just want to start with the whole can he escape with the loot thing first, just because that's the one that just is like blowing my mind. As it's been described as GDP size numbers. That's a lot of money to escape with. And like the dude has gone and put it on centralized exchanges full of KYC. So first of all, that's a lot to liquidate. And we know, we've talked a lot in the last few weeks, especially in the situation of Russian sanctions, how hard it is to actually liquidate that much in crypto. It's just not really, it's there. Of course it's there, but that's a lot to pull. And especially without getting tracked. And if you're going to use a centralized exchange, you're really going to get tracked. You're going to get frozen. It really makes you wonder, does he actually intend to cash out? Or is he just sending a great big old message of, I did this. I don't care about getting the money. I just wanted to point out that it was possible and that it can be done, which I guess then leads to your question of, is this just the cost of doing business in Web3, where things are hacked together real fast and put out and millions of dollars worth of crypto gets used on these sites, but they're not always super secure. So I've touched on almost all those points, but I'm going to see if Zach, who has been editing many of these stories, has something he'd like to add to it.
Yeah, those are all great points. And it is really just, I just like the abstraction. I like the heist. I like you're in the vault. You have $600 million in crypto, but it's kind of worthless. Like, you got to get it into cash in most cases. And even if you don't want to get it into cash, it's like it's stained with that ink that explodes when you rob a bank. So this is dirty crypto that's going to be rather difficult, most experts agree, to launder in any way, shape, or form for some of these high level hacks. And I think you sort of see this this oh, I'm a white hat hacker now kind of thing happen, right? These gray hat hacker situations that sort of unfold over time. This is still the early innings of this story. This broke midday yesterday. The exploit itself took place a few days prior. But the beauty and the crazy bizarre thing about blockchain is that you can see this stuff happen in real time. There's sort of an on-chain police chase going on right now where you can see where these funds are going, and you can see some apparent missteps that this person or persons may have undertaken when they sort of entered into KYC'd environments in a bid to turn some of this stuff into cold cash. So this is, I think, a big advantage of these open, transparent public blockchain networks is that they can be a bit self-regulating in this regard, right? If there's a big hack, these addresses are flagged. It becomes difficult to launder or to mix these funds in a way that makes it untraceably clean on the flip side of it. So it's going to be funny to see what this person or persons decides to do in this instance. And yeah, this story has just started, but I'll toss it down to Jen for her thoughts.
Yeah, on that point, I thought it was interesting that the blog post that was released that explained the hack said that they're working with various government agencies to ensure the criminals get brought to justice. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the first times that we've seen law enforcement get involved in a DeFi hack, or the platform actually involving law enforcement. I think the last time we saw this, and the only time we saw this, was in Canada with that 16-year-old who hacked, I forget what the company's called. Anyone remember?
It's called
Indexed
Finance.
Indexed Finance. Yeah. And so I thought that was really interesting. It'll be interesting to see which law enforcement, which government agencies, if any, get involved. For me, though, I think Sky Mavis's announcement to reimburse players was what really stuck with me from the story, or what stuck with me so far. We hear so much about the Axie Infinity players who come from developing nations. Always point to the Play to Earn documentary that was produced by CoinDesk contributor Leah Callan Butler, that really tells the story of communities in the Philippines who have been uplifted, especially throughout the pandemic, because of Axie Infinity. So I think their announcement to reimburse these players was the absolute right announcement for them, but also for DeFi. We talk about mainstream audiences who hear about these massive hacks, who get afraid to enter DeFi, who get afraid to try out these products because they're going to lose their money. But when we hear that companies like Axie Infinity are reimbursing people who have been victims of hacks, we start to think of these platforms and these products the same way we think of them as the same way we think of banks and Visa, right? If something goes wrong, someone has my back. So I think that was the absolute right call. And Adam, to your point, I think it's just the cost of doing business as we learn how to operate in this very new space.
So I have a really dumb idea, I think, but I feel compelled to talk about it.
I love dumb ideas.
If I was the person who had stolen this money, right, and I knew that there was really no way that I could get it out, I think what I would do is I would go to the NFT market and I would start buying apes, right? Just start buying all the blue chip types of tokens that are out there and involve all of these communities who don't want their tokens to be blacklisted, right? And maybe, again, if you steal $625 million out of the crypto ecosystem, well, you could take $100 million worth of that ether and set up bounties for someone to create platforms for you to actually, to create a competitor to OpenSea or something like that, treated like a venture fund. There's all this interesting stuff that you could do so long as you're not trying to take it out of the ecosystem and into the physical world. And so it's kind of interesting to me that, we see this question come up over and over again. Okay, you've stolen, you've robbed the bank, but to Zach's point, now that money is you're kind of trapped, right? There's no real way out of it. Well, in crypto, you don't actually need to leave, and you could do all kinds of shenanigans that would kind of involve people and make the story get even bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't know. Like I said, it's a dumb idea, but Zach, what do you think?
I don't know. I think there's there's services like Nansen, for instance, that like label wallets, right? And or even Etherscan, right? Like here's Vitalik's wallet, here's the Poly Network hackers wallet, here is Ronin wallet. Like, do people really want to be associated with those ill-gotten gains? I don't know. There's a lot of like tweets out there that are like, oh, this is bullish for ETH because like this is 176,000 Ether token burn. No one's touching this stuff ever. So I don't know. I don't know if you could spin it into some crypto native vehicle for further investment without people being like, yeah, I don't know if I want to be associated with this stuff. But hey, maybe there's some anons out there who would maybe think about
Thief DAO, right?
That might be
Thief
fun.
DAO.
Ayo. Maybe think about
Thief DAO, right?
That might be
Thief
fun.
DAO.
Ayo.
You know?
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Turn
All
it
right,
into
Christy,
other
all you.
people's problem.
Yeah. See, now here's where I'm curious to see what happens next. Is if you look at the Poly Network hack and how they, I believe, like there was something like $611 million taken there, and they basically negotiate. Isn't that the one where they negotiated with the hacker and said, look, keep 10 million of it, no questions asked, just return the rest of it. And it turned into sort of like a reverse bounty of sorts. It wasn't a bug bounty, but it kind of turned into one. I'm wondering, maybe because the hacker put all this